Hi, it's Andy Wolff here. You know, these days when I'm at a race, a lot of people ask me, "What did you do today? What do I do?" Or I know people look around and say, "What is that guy doing?" And because I just tell people my job is to ski around and look good, which I do, but I do a lot of other things. So what I do is I like to think that I fill in the cracks of what the jury may or may not do, things that probably should get done that other folks maybe have forgotten about. And I try to go about this without stepping on anybody's shoes. I do mostly do it by myself. So, um, people also ask me what I've got in my yellow book when I pull it out. Maybe I'll start with my yellow book first. So, um, when I go to a race, first thing I do, I'll go through the chronolog. First thing I do is I do a lap on the hill. I have my drill and my bit, and I go out on the hill, and I check the snow, top to bottom, left to right, everywhere, to see what the snow's like. And then I go back up and think, okay, if I'm setting on this, if it were me setting, where would I go? And I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna have. Okay, we got 2 days of racing, so we got 4 race runs every day if it's men and women, and if it's a slalom, let's say it's a slalom, then I got 4 different lanes I have to think about, and I'll go check every lane and see if there's snow everywhere. So I know in advance the quality of the snow and where the corsets might be going, and with that information, I can give advice to the chief of course or the chief of race or the technical delegate, because they'll oftentimes come and say, "Hey Andy, did you drill?" Well, of course I drilled. um, so I do a couple of laps doing that, and then I do a lap looking at what's installed, the B net that's installed, seeing if it's done correctly. Now, do I check every net? No, I don't check. I don't think I check any nets, but I do notice. I was watching Murder on the Orient Express, and Hercule Poirot was asked, how does he know what a clue is? And his answer was, I notice things that are not as they should be in my perfect world. And for the number of years I'm doing it, that's pretty much the basis that I go on. So I notice things that are not the way they should be. Whether that's a B not installed or a B net not installed or installed the right way or it's too tight, just all these different things I'll just notice. Plus I'll notice any obstacles that are sitting outside the fences that may or may not need an extra provision. And after doing my lap on the course set, then I'll be thinking, where might we need extra netting depending on what the course, because the course setter is required to set to the available safety. So normally just say, hey, don't go over there because we don't have any B net to do a double layer, so don't go over there. So that's what I do. Um, then I might go inside, and so for this is for Mont Garceau. You can see it. So that's a list of all the different parameters that I look on at, and I take measurements, and I understand about the race hill. So that means I've gone with the homologation files. I note where the start and the finish are, the vertical drop, the length of the course. Then I'll go look at. So then I'll calculate my mins and maxes here, different places, and then I'll go back to the previous years, and I'll mark down who set in the 2 previous years, and how many gates they set. So that if I'm on the course set the next day and Francis Royale is setting, I'll say, hey Francis, last year you set a 34-31, and your distances were 31. Your distances were 27 meters. Now, how do I know that? Because I know the course length, and I know how many gates that were in the year before, I can calculate his distances. And this is pretty straightforward. There's nothing rocket science about this, but I don't know a lot of people. And this I do this for everywhere. So when I'm World Cup at Killington, same thing. The Italian coach shows up, and I said, hey, you're 34 to 36. I think it was 43 to 51. I said, you got to sit 26. If you don't set 26, if you set longer, you're not going to make your numbers. Okay, so set less than 26. You think the guy set less than 26? No. And I had to remind him rather forcefully towards the bottom that unless he started setting 25, he wasn't going over it. I wasn't going to make him reset, but Peter Girdle probably was. So that's all the information that I have just on my little book. So when does that come in handy? It comes in handy at the team captains meeting, and the first course setter will come to me and say, Andy, what do you got? And or they'll wait, and I'll go on the first course set. I'll keep doing laps. Everything I see needs to be done, then I'll do it, or I'll point things out to the chief of race quietly, or the chief of course, depending on who's interested in receiving. Normally the technical delegates, and I don't get in their way, and they know they can look to me to answer questions on things that they maybe didn't get around to or don't have the most interest in. So then I go on every course set. Every course set, when I'm at the start, the course setter will say, Andy, what are my numbers? Because they expect me to be there. So I say, okay, these are your numbers. This is what you set the last year, and this is what you need to set now. And here's your min and your max. And I'll tell them if it's a min hill or a max hill. Min means you're going to have trouble making your minimum. Max means you're going to have to set long or you're going to go over. That's just the way it is. Or you're just the middle. Do whatever you want. You're fine. And then I'll have my counter, and I'll keep track of every turn. Sometimes I shag gates or carry a bundle. I'll do if there's nobody around. I can carry a bundle of 20. I try to get rid of mine as quick because it's hard to do a couple of things at the same time. Or normally, like second run, I'll be shagging gates and handing them to the course setter, and I have some value there. But I'll be keeping track of the combinations as well if it's on a slalom. And at any point when the course setter turns to me and go, where am I at? I'll be able to tell him, and I always say it this way, you owe me a flush and you owe me a pin. It's never, you need one more. I say, you owe me. And because I give them ownership, but that's just the way I say it. You owe me. It puts me in a position, no matter what I'm doing there, it puts me in a position of authority that they owe me this to make their course set legal. So that's what I do on the first run course set. Then normally I disappear for quite a while and get coffee and get warm and chat with people. And then during the race, I'll cycle around, and the chief of course will give me instructions on anything particular they want me to do. At some races, like at Tremblant, Mark Lamera asked for me and Andrew German, one of us always be at his side so that he could just send us to do stuff and rotate around. So there was always one of us there making sure. So run errands and fix panels. Slippers are hard. They don't often notice that panels are down, so I get sent to fix that. But I also stop in and chat with each gate judge, and because I know they're in a safe position, and I'll tell the jury member where I'm going and where I'm going to stop on the way down, so they know that I'm not just going down without a purpose. They'll know what I'm doing, and when I'm going by, I'm also looking to see the condition of the course, because it might be difficult for the jury members from their particular position to see what the course is like. And at Lake Louise World Cup, for ladies particularly, I was mobile jury, and that was my assigned task during the race, was to report to the jury members what things were like on the rest of the hill, because they're secluded. They're not talking on the jury radio about what's going on in different places, but they'd like to know. So that was my job to keep them posted on that. So that's called controlled movement on the race course, and being sent on. There's always some mission to be sent on, and I'm available to do that. So that's what I do during the race. I like to think that I'm a goodwill ambassador at the races, so that's why I chat with all the gate judges. I don't ever hang around coach's corner unless I've been assigned there. I mean, that's coach. I'm not coach. Well, yeah, I'm a coach, but that's not my paid job that day. And there's way more things to be done. And if I'm with them, then anyway, there's a lot more things to do than stand around with the coaches, because I mean, there's other people that do that, and I don't know what they're not accomplishing anything. So that's what I do during the race. So I'm well prepared before the race. And after the race, after the race, after the first run, I go back and we do. I make sure I'm at the start for the second run course set, and I make sure that the course setter has the proper drill and bit and batteries, and then I'm capable of just saying, here, take mine. And oh yeah, and if it's a GS, I've got my rangefinder, so I'll say, do you want me to call? So I'll oftentimes call the numbers of what the distances are between the gates, or I'll be a target for the coach if he wants to go down and then shoot from down there. Then I'm the target. Same thing on a slalom. I'll offer to hold the dumb end of the tape, and that just frees up. I can do most of my duties at the same time while I'm doing that, so I can keep track of the gates. I can hold the dumb end and keep track of the combinations, and should the coach look at me a certain way, then I'll provide the advice that they're looking for. So I do that second run after the race. If there's teardown, I usually go in direct part of the teardown, or I just cycle. Teardown happens pretty quick, so I can probably do 2 laps before it's time to start picking up all of the leftover equipment that's there. And if we're handing the hill back to the public, I want to make sure that the ruts are slipped out, and I can do that in maybe 2-3 laps as well. Even while the public's on the hill, I can still clean it up and make sure that that none of the public get caught up in the stuff that we might have left, because I believe that we should be handing the course back to the mountain the way we found it. And athletes they're not really interested in doing that at the end of the day, because they're tired and they're cold and they want to get back to the lodge, and there's awards coming up, and they've done teardown, they've done their job, and I just really enjoy being the last one off the mountain and cycling, making sure that things are set for the next day. If the gates have to get shuttled back up to the top, then the gates are shuttled back up. If they're doing a night course set, then I'll hang around and I'll go on that course set. But generally, for me, I enjoy the peace and quiet on the hill first thing in the morning. Oh, first in the morning also. I like to be the first one around, and if there's stuff to do at the finish before the lift opens, then I get organized there. But I want to be the first one up the lift. Yeah, so at the end of the day, I enjoy the peace and quiet, and I just enjoy making sure that everything's like, just what did people forget? Like, just being everybody's tired at the end of the day. Chief of race, chief of course, TD, they're all busy doing something else. A lot of times getting ready for the team captains or doing awards, whatever. The referee's off with their kids, and I can go around and do a sweep and just be able to assure the chief of course or anybody that's at the team captain meeting, if they have a question on what's on the hill, they know that I've been up there, so they will tend to come and ask. So I fill in the cracks. That's what I like to do, and I try to do it in a way where I'm not getting in anybody's way and that nobody knows that I'm doing it. So I'll just cycle around. So what's really kind of upsetting is when I'm doing that, you'd think that the particularly at local races, you'd think that the newer chief of races and technical delegates would, I don't tell them what I'm doing, but you think they should be able to figure out. And when they start telling me I can't do stuff, I'm wondering, like, why are you telling me this? Do you think I don't know? Do you think it's my first time on a race hill, or my 80th time this year? Like, what makes you think that you actually know what you're talking about? And that's a little frustrating. I know that some other people look at me and they see an old guy and say, this is probably the most important thing he's done in his entire life. He's old and he's working on a race course and seems to know what he's doing. Well, you know what? I've done a lot of other things in my life too, and they weren't on a ski race hill. So it's important, and don't be judging people on the race hill. They could be. They probably know. If someone's on the race hill and they look like they know what they're doing, chances are they know exactly what they're doing, and it would serve you well to pay attention about how they're going about their business and try to figure out in your own little mind what it is that they're doing while you're standing at your jury position. That's just a bit of advice. Otherwise, I get frustrated, I just leave. But I don't get frustrated at FIS races. I get frustrated at regional races because, yeah, I know you're a technical delegate or chief of race for the second time. Like, you know it all. You know it all. Yeah, just wait until you get 30 centimeters of snow and you only got 12 people and you're trying to figure out how to clean the hill off. Who are you going to ask? I have a pretty good idea. Hey, did I get cranky towards the end there? Just a little bit, I guess, eh? But every day is a good day in a race, though. I mean, it doesn't matter what the weather's like. My job is to get a race off, so I'll do anything I can to get a race off. That's the job of the technical delegate, by the way. When they show up for the race, they're assigned a codex. Their job is to get a result, and they have to do everything they can to make sure they get a result for that race. And I'm there to help them out do that. And if you think something can be done to get a race off, you probably can do it. You know, you might read these rules. It's not a rule book. These rules are guidelines. I mean, it's just a challenge. Is how can you accomplish your goals without breaking any of these? And there's lots of ways to do it, but you really have to know what's in here before you can say, hey, why don't we do that? Well, no one's ever done that before. You can't do that. Well, you know what? I don't know how many times people have said that to me. You can't do that. And I go, yeah, okay, well, we'll see if my results get uploaded at the end of the race. I'm pretty sure they will. Anyway, I'm not cranky like this all the time. I even have Christmas music on. Can you hear that? It's baby, it's cold outside. There you go. It is going to be cold, so bundle up. Hey, the one thing I'm going to miss about Lake Louise this year is it's a good thing I've pinched enough toe warmers and hand warmers from there for over the years to last me for this year when I have no World Cup volunteer cabin to load up my pockets with. That's planning ahead.